Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory, successfully dodging the CIA since August of 2012. Now I'll be the first to admit, here on Game Theory we have a habit of overanalyzing video games, and the comment I see more than any other is, who cares? Who cares that Star Fox's team is doing aileron rolls instead of barrel rolls? Who cares if you're committing war crimes in the Call of Duty games? Who cares if Mai Shiranui's boobs are real or fake? Well, never mind, people actually did care about that one, go figure. In general, it all boils down to 5 words. It's just a video game. But after today, claiming video game logic is no longer an option because I'm going to prove to you how practically every video game is interrelated, sharing one collective universe, and that universe just so happens to be ours. Our story begins with one of my personal favorites, Super Mario RPG. Plumber sets out to save kidnapped Princess. Plumber finds Princess's Vibe Scepter hidden beside the fireplace. Plumber finds intergalactic bounty hunter sleeping in Princess's bed. Any Nintendo fanboy worthy of Miyamoto's blessing can identify that as Samus Aran, which means that when Mario looks up at the Mushroom Kingdom sky at night, somewhere out there he should be able to see Metroid-infested planets like Zebus and SR-388. While he's stargazing, he should also be able to see the planet Popstar, Kirby's homeworld, since in Kirby's Dream Land 3, Kirby must fight off several of Metroid's signature space jellyfish, only to find Samus blonde and beautiful at the end of the level. In fact, if there was any doubt about the Mushroom Kingdom Popstar connection, there's evidence that Mario has actually been there, as he appears in the audience of both the Megaton Punch Tournament and the battle against King Dedede in Kirby Superstar. In other words, it would have been 100% legitimate to have Mario jumping on Kratos and headbutting Mother Brain during his interstellar travels in Mario Galaxy. And we're not talking about fantasy crossovers here. This would be perfectly established within the canon of all 3 franchises. But it doesn't stop there. While he was planet hopping in this fanfic version of Mario Galaxy 3, Mario and Kirby could spend a few minutes fighting off a Zerg rush as Metroids have infiltrated the distant galaxies of Starcraft 2. But if Samus is really going to quell the Metroid outbreak, she'll also have to swing by Angel Land, home to Kiteretsu, leaving the door open for a Pit versus Protoss showdown. Now there's a brawl I'd pay to see. Revisiting Super Mario RPG also connects the Mushroom Kingdom to Hyrule, as Mario finds Nintendo's favorite fairy, favorite fairy boy sleeping in a hotel bed. 2 years later, in 1998, the connection between the 2 realms was further solidified in Ocarina of Time, where Mario, Bowser, and Luigi appear as portraits in Zelda's castle. Could Hyrule and the Mushroom Kingdom be one and the same? That's a question for another theory, but one thing's for sure, Nintendo's biggest heroes definitely share the same planet. So we've united most of the main players in the Nintendo universe, but how do we jump from this proverbial Nintendo land to the real world? Well, we do some digging around and find an obscure Japanese title named Captain Rainbow, which stars Birdo, the ambiguously gay dino, and former world boxing champion Little Mac, who earned his crown by toppling the one and only Iron Mike Tyson. Thus, we have our bridge to the real world, not just some made-up video game version of Earth, but the real world with real-life earbiters. Mike Tyson, key to the universe. But before we explore this little tangent, one more word about Punch-Out. In the version for the Wii, Little Mac spars with the modern tie-wearing version of Donkey Kong, pulling in the whole Donkey Kong Country series, as well as everyone's favorite bear and bird combo, Banjo-Kazooie. How?
By the power of beavers.
Naughty is a recurring boss in the first Donkey Kong Country, who, when he's not hiding in piles of bananas, apparently makes his living in Click-Clock Wood, waiting for heroes to release him from his dam. But back to the real-world connection. Street Fighter was the first game I remember that actually flew you around the map of the real world to fight in different locations, even down to the Cold War era USSR, which was awesome. But if we want to get really picky about whether this Street Fighter world is the real world or a video game real world, in the original Street Fighter there was an African American who happened to be a boxer that also happened to be named Mike. Mike Tyson. Round, round, get around, he gets around. Anyway, we could talk about Chun-Li's cameo in Breath of Fire and all the connections from there, but being a young geeky male, I always preferred Cammy, the wedgie warrior. But did you know that she also had a crossover with Baby Bonnie Hood from Darkstalkers, King Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, and Mega Man from Mega Man? It's a shooter called Cannon Spike for the Dreamcast, and it means that stuff like this and this also connect to the real world through this. Now I ask you, between the two, which is more exciting? Exciting or no, Darkstalkers Morrigan is more than just vampiric eye candy. This sexy succubus is the connection drawing in the Castlevania franchise. The Dreamcast game Gunbird 2 featured her as a hidden character alongside son of Dracula, Alucard, a staple in the vampire hunting series since Castlevania 3. And in a crossover that seems too bizarre to be true, it's Castlevania that links us up to Contra. Not once, but twice. In Contra Hardcore, an optional battle features a rather hip-looking android wielding the vampire killer whip and hitting candles for power-ups. But in an even more obscure connection, in the game Snatcher for the Sega CD, you run across Dracula, a Belmont, Lance and Bill from Contra, and even Sparkster the Rocket Knight in a bar called Outer Heaven. You'd think that the Outer Heaven reference would be a direct connection to Metal Gear, but not quite yet. For solid proof, we need to... At the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Rechef of Destruction, you play your magic card game against series antagonist Pegasus. Beat him and he summons a giant mech. How a large robot could possibly help him win a glorified version of my grandmother's game of bridge is beyond me, but that's not the point. The mech is actually Goemon Impact from the extremely famous Goemon series. While this opens up a whole new world of crossovers, the important one for now is Goemon's connection to Sparkster. In Ganbare Goemon 2, Sparkster leads to Goemon, leads to Yu-Gi-Oh!, which leads to Solid Snake. Yes, Solid Snake from the Metal Gear franchise actually appears in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Title. In Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 Trials to Glory, a mysterious figure hiding under a box reveals that he is in fact a spy sent there to study the Shadowlands. But he's also connected to the crazy monkeys from Ape Escape, which, through Hot Shots Golf, links him to Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and the God of War himself, Kratos. That's Super Mario Bros. 2 to Captain Rainbow to Punch-Out to Street Fighter 2 to Darkstalkers, Darkstalkers to Gunbird 2 to Castlevania to Snatcher to Contra, Contra to Rocket Knight Adventures to Ganbare Goemon 2 to Yu-Gi-Oh! To Metal Gear Solid and Ape Escape to Hot Shots Golf to God of War. Because we're running out of time, that seems like a good place to leave that chain. This is all without mentioning the game connections I've run out of time to talk about, like Lara Croft and Duke Nukem, which also features Doom Guy, linking it up to the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, which then includes Call of Duty, Spider-Man, the entire Star Wars franchise. Then Tony Hawk also has Wolverine, who finds the Lich King sword, pulling in World of Warcraft. And speaking of enormous RPGs, the Elder Scrolls series is connected to Nintendo through Pokemon, specifically Morrowind, where you can collect a Marowak spine. Morrowind also happens to be the final resting place of Indiana Jones, which opens up a whole realm of movie crossovers, as well as Final Fantasy's second most infamous villain, Kefka. And this Final Fantasy connection brings us all the way back around to Super Mario RPG and its secret boss, Culex. So in the end, there's a lot of untapped crossovers here, people. Mega Man in Call of Duty, Kratos in Starcraft, Sephiroth in Skyrim. Even when you ignore obvious franchise crossovers like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the video game universe is still incredibly small. And it's also intrinsically linked to our real world through figures like Mike Tyson and Tony Hawk. Thus, by doing the research and thinking about these games as though they're real, we're giving a medium we love the legitimacy and credit it deserves. Now, I challenge you to go out and complete the web I started. See just how far we can take this thing. At this point, it seems like all that's left would be puzzle games like Tetris, but it's not like a game about falling blocks could ever have any sort of connection with oh my god. But hey, it's just a theory, a game theory. Keep an eye out for other epic crossovers in the coming weeks.